I am one of three brothers, the youngest of three brothers. My parents are British. They moved to France in 1990, so I was actually raised in France from the age of 10. I have gone through the whole French education system and got my master's degree in company strategies and international management. I traveled a little bit around, back to the UK, to Germany, and then landed myself the dream job. The dream job being working, in fact, running a vineyard here in the south of France.
Okay.
And that was a fantastic opportunity at the age of 25. But within 3-4 years, I realized that this dream job in so many people's eyes, was not necessarily the dream job for me. For many reasons, I decided to get out and do a bit more soul searching. Mm-hmm. I realized that there was the work that I was doing, and I was doing a lot of work, the team and I were, there was not enough purpose in the work. There was not enough positive or sustainable impact in the work that we were doing, or the work that I was doing in any case. And I felt that if I was going to work this hard, it might as well be for something that is worth something, that I'm not wasting my time into something, creating a bottle of wine, even though, once again, a noble art, winemaking. So I got out of the wine business, and doing all this soul searching a little bit, I fell into full-time volunteership. I work for an organization called the World Peace Partnership. I worked a little bit also with France Cancer, and with a few environmental friendly initiatives as well. And I'd gone from this financial comfort of having a good job, paid well, etc., but not finding the passion in the work that I was doing. I went from that towards actually finding exactly what I wanted to be in, which was I've got an echo here.
Sorry, yeah.
I've got it, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I went from that into finding exactly what I was looking for, which is working where my passions are, which is with people and for a greater good, for a positive cause and sustainable, potentially, making the world a better place, let's say. And that's how utopic I am. And realized that this is really where I wanted to be, but then I couldn't find the balance for quite some time between the passions that I wanted to live and the financial sustainability that I needed to actually continue doing what I was doing.
Okay.
So, and then everything went pear-shaped in my life. I had quite a nasty skiing accident, and I found myself living back at home with my parents at the age of 30. Mm-hmm. I was very much at a crossroads of my life, and I decided to, rather than to take this as a negative thing, take the time to reflect on what I was doing, what I wanted to do with my life, and how I could bridge the gap between living my passions, which are, once again, moving towards a much more sustainable planet, and how I can actually make that viable for myself, even financially, so I could keep on doing that every day. That's where this big idea of the hub came up. Mm-hmm. One of my friends had actually said to me, have you seen this? A person I was working with within one of the organizations, the World Peace Partnership. And I'd sidelined the idea initially, and then realized after a while, when I was going through all those ideas again, that this one really made a lot of sense. The hub, in a nutshell, for me, was all about bringing together social entrepreneurs and those who are seeking, once again, to generate positive and sustainable impact locally, regionally, nationally, in the world. Getting these people together so that they can get the conversations going, step one, and step two, put actions into place for these initiatives to really strive forward. So I moved to Nice in the beginning of 2011, thinking I needed to start in a bigger city than where I was actually living. And I started talking to people, left, right, and center. I would go to formal events. I would go to informal events.
Sorry for the echo.
So it's okay. The forward events would be things like business-related conferences, seminars, which I didn't really find very inspiring, but I certainly went along to because this is where I was trying to see what was going on locally. And then informal events such as picnics on the beach, get-togethers, music festivals, really trying to see what was going on. The first response was generally a lot of people laughing in my face, like, really? You want to do that down here? The second response was a bit more cynical. Oh, you can't do that. You know, that's impossible. Who are you to say what we should do or shouldn't do? And let's get things straight. I'm not here to dictate how life should be lived. This is just how I want to live my life. That's my choice. But as I was digging a little bit deeper, I started meeting people who actually were not only on the same wavelength, but were also trying to do the same thing. And after a while, there was this small circle or core community that was building around this great vision of being here locally in Nice and wanting to actually strive towards sustainable business models, alternative initiatives that do good in the world, that do good locally, that treat people with dignity and respect. These core values, these human values that we're so lacking in our society today, in my opinion. So several of us and myself, we teamed together and we got all this initiative of what the hub was all about going. That once again was first and foremost to decide whether there was a critical mass of social entrepreneurs here in Nice, which we, cut the long story short here, yes, there is. Mm-hmm. And we built a community around this vision. We do different types of events and things like that. And then the second goal was to build a physical space, a bit like a co-working space. We called it a collaborative working space. There's a little bit of a difference, where these people would be able to use this workspace as a hotspot for social entrepreneurship, but also for them to connect, to exchange, to share, to care. These are the values that we really wanted to put forward. And we were already within this community, and the community was feeding us all of these great ideas and initiatives and willingness to move forward. Mm-hmm. But the big thing that was holding us back was actually finding the financing to create this space. Now, my good friends and I, who teamed together to create this initiative, after a few years of full-time work on this project, it became a little bit frustrating and tiring. The fact that we just weren't reaching the goal that we'd set out, a high goal that we'd set out for ourselves. Yeah. Uh-huh. And that is when the question of finance came back into the equation, whereas we can keep trying this. These are where our passions lie. We can see the good that we're doing, even locally. People are really inspired by this, and they inspire us to continue as well. It was very mutual, the exchange. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we still have to pay the rent. We still have to put food on the table. And that was like everybody, there's always this underlying factor, this common denominator in the society that we live in today. And I know there's current debate and inquiries ongoing about how we can move this forward. And I'm also part of that and very flattered to be. But right now, let's be very straightforward. Feet on the ground, many of us, if not all of us, are in this situation where there's this common denominator of finance. We have to put food on the table. Mm-hmm. So from that, briefly, I went into consultancy to try and basically transform all that we had done and not lose or waste what we'd already created through the hub experience, trying to monetize some of that, but realizing very fast that the people we were targeting, therefore our own community, at the end of the day were people just like us, great ideas, entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, in fact, but who didn't necessarily have the finance to implement themselves. Yeah. They were just like us, were looking for the seed funding that they weren't getting. Mm-hmm. And that took me to my latest endeavor, which is a massive pivot, which I fell into real estate. I actually walked backwards into real estate. I was given an opportunity. And because this question of financing was very much at the forefront of my mind, how can I put food on the table for myself and for my, for my partner today, tomorrow, in the next 6 months? I needed a quick fix. Like most of us have to look at those situations and deal with them. Yeah. So I fell into real estate, and I was there for maybe a good year and a half before I realized that the way it was working did not fit whatsoever with my own values. And I could see that I wasn't the only one. I could see that in the environment that we were working in, many people the values of many people were being sidelined, were being pushed away. It was work, 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 and then let's remind ourselves of those values after work. And I don't think there's a separation between work and life. I don't think there can be a separation between work and life at the end of the day. I think we get up and we work at least 8 hours a day. That's living. That's not working, that's living. So we have to stress and strain and strive. That's a lot of STs. We have to strive forward as best as possible, I believe, to make sure that we are enjoying every minute of our day whilst working, because we are living. We can't sideline that factor. So I was working in real estate, for, as I said, for about a year and a half before I came to the conclusion that I could not stay in that current environment, but real estate itself actually caught my attention. I felt that we could do things very differently. And for a while, I've been talking the talk. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. You know, the idea generator, as I think we all can be sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I realized, and actually it was, one of my friends who pushed me a little bit, saying, it's good to talk the talk, but do you fancy walking the walk? You know, do you want to take action? It's all good having that conversation. Your ideas sound nice, but do you want to move forward?
Very confronting when someone says that to you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was the catalyst. That person was the catalyst for me to say, you know what? All right, that's a nice dare. Let's do this. And I did. And the key for me was to surround myself with very smart people and good friends. Not just people who said yes to all those ideas that I was putting out there. Far from it. I needed critical thinkers around me, not yes people.
The naysayers are getting you to the next level.
Exactly. And we pushed and we created a real estate company ourselves. But the most important factor in that was to put the values that we had already, that transpired through the whole hub project, into real estate. The values being, you know, respect, dignity, teamwork, team effort, really emphasizing on the human being and what they, and not just, I don't know, how would you put it? Not just see people as figures or numbers or income generators. See people as people, because that's, you know, people are people. You think that I sometimes stay up at night with all these thoughts in my mind, but I'm not the only one. We're all like that. And I think we forget too fast that everybody, you see the outside, but there's a lot going on inside as well. And I think that's the biggest value that we've tried to put forward within this company, but this is something that we would love to see in so many other sectors and so many other models as well, is humans first, as in the values, the core values of human beings first. Let's not forget them. Let's not disrespect them. Let's not push them to one side. And that's where it took me to real estate. Your turn.
I understand. Simon, a wonderful story. You had a quel voyage in French. Excuse my French.
Very good. Très bien.
Enormous development, I guess. You're already touching people by the heart, because I can see the comments people are giving on your story you just shared with us.
Okay, I'll read them later then.
I'll tell you, Colm said, I like the idea. There is no separation between work and life. It personally resonates with me as well. Karen says, totally agree. Otherwise, we are just wishing our lives away, waiting for the weekend.
Exactly.
Are we at work right now, Simon? You tell me. I don't have the feeling that I'm at work at all.
No, I don't. I'm enjoying this.
Just try to show up at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Just about.
And, Colm, makes a remark. If you live your passion, you will never have to work. Well, we can both, I think, relate to that one.
Absolutely.
Well, when you talk about values, and you talk about business, somewhere down the line, at least that's my experience, a lot of people see them in two kind of parallel universes.
Mm.
You know, you have, on one side you have work, on the other side you have your personal values in life, and you're talking about how to get them together in a sustainable way.
I'm actually talking about don't separate them.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think we are, I don't know, I don't want to get all metaphysical or start going on the whole political or economical debate about society, even though that for me is very much at the forefront of maybe another conversation. But for me, it's already been separated for us by the time we enter the work life. Whereas we should avoid the separation from the beginning. We should understand that these values are part of us. We can't separate ourselves into 2 or 3 or 4 beings.
Mm-hmm.
So why should we have all these different masks on when I'm in front of one person or another, when I'm at work or at home?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's about knowing who you are when you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, being aligned with those values that are yours and yours only,
Mm-hmm.
being true to yourself and being happy with who you are, loving who you are. I know it sounds all very care bearish, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
If you don't respect yourself, and if you don't love yourself, and if you don't care for yourself, how can you respect others, care for others, and love others truly and sustainably? You can short term, no doubt about it.
I completely agree. Completely agree with you, Simon. If you're out there doing something that doesn't really reflect your own set of values, I think that construction is not sustainable.
I mean, we've heard it for, I was going to say generations, decades. The midlife crisis, the famous midlife crisis. Well, isn't it funny that...
Tell me about it, Simon.
Right. Well, isn't it funny that the midlife crisis is becoming younger? It's happening at a younger and younger age. My midlife crisis was at 28.
Yeah.
And I see the kids nowadays at 20, 25, and they're like, what's going on with my life? Is this what I want to do? And I'm not saying this is entirely due to the work-life separation or values, but I do think it has a big part to play. I really do.
It's a sign of the times. I agree with you. And I think 34 years ago, the path was clearer and we could more relate to it somehow. Yeah, I see a lot of people indeed struggling with what we call the growth economy symptoms. They don't feel comfortable living in it. Going back to your real estate, because we had a couple of conversations before this call. You once told me that when a potential client comes into your real estate, you realize that she or he is actually looking for a house or a home, which is almost the same word, but a different world. And you told me that you're even asking the client what she or he really wants, and that you are not just showing your own portfolio or your own houses you want to sell.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm not here to pitch my real estate company.
No, but
that wouldn't ring true to all I've just said up to now if I suddenly start pitching that. But what I will say is it's all down to the values. So this could be easily replicated in any business model at all out there within any sector. And for me, this is having a clear vision. Our vision for our company is very much a collaborative vision, is very much an ethical, value-minded vision. With all we've just said, I think in a nutshell, that can now be understood what I mean by that. From the collaborative point of view, if I dive a little bit deeper in that, the real estate market, the way it functions usually is all real estate companies will sign mandates with owners and have properties on their books. And when clients come into their real estate agency, they will show what they have on their books. And then they will look at what else is on the market. Our relationship with our clients is very much different. It's about, if we're going to work as transparently and give as much dedication as possible to their needs, which their project, we have to be as open and transparent with what's going on in the market step one, not step two, step one. As soon as they come into the agency, after we've asked them, what would you like to drink? Tea, coffee, that's our tradition. It will be all about getting to build that relationship with the client, to really understand what their needs honestly are, and then to show them what's in the market. So we've positioned ourselves as a collaborative real estate agency by working with a variety of different associations and collaborations already existing, but also we've also created a few ourselves. So when a client comes in, we're showing them everything and not solely what's on our books. Now, I kid you not. Of course, if we have something that meets their criteria that we do have on our books, we will, of course, show them that as well. That's being business-minded. But it won't be the only property that we will show. We will show them at the same time amongst other properties. So it's really matchmaking for them and not for us. But collaboration goes beyond there, because you mentioned the client. But for me, what's also extremely important, what is on the same level as the client, is the team, the agents. For me, collaboration has to happen from within the agency if it's going to be successful outside the agency. People have to understand that. And it's not like I needed to teach the team. The team know it. The team got it from the word go, and the team implemented. The team pushed me to be even better at my job. And that's what's fantastic about what we've been able to create within our real estate agency. Everybody gets it, and we have good values. A little parenthesis on the team: we never take CVs. So that's something I've never mentioned, but we never take CVs. We only have conversations. And if there's a good feeling on both sides, we'll have a cup of tea once again or whatever. And if there's a good feeling on both sides, then we'll take that conversation further. But CVs are a dinosaur method of a dinosaur society. That's a wink to Deborah there.
I fully agree. The funny thing is, maybe it's nice to share, when I had my own agencies, I never looked at one CV in my life.
Well, there you go. Then you got it.
I just got into a conversation with somebody. I'm not very interested in what somebody did, in the past, and building up this wonderful status-like stuff.
Right.
I'm interested where people want to go the next period in their life, and how we can actually, make each other stronger in that. That's, for me, it's always been the base of running my own companies. So it's nice to hear you're actually doing the same out there, Simon.
I'm sure I'm not the only one.
But I heard you saying that you put your client up front, or you're saying you set your team up front. I think that taking these decisions on how to run a business actually are very important strategic conditions to start building a business that actually works for everybody in there. So I can applaud you with that one. Secondly, is there anything you would like to share on this topic, that when you build a business that actually works for all, probably down the road you need to make some concessions every now and then? What do you put up front, because you need to earn money, you need to serve your team, you need to serve your clients. How do you deal with potential conflicts in there, or don't you experience them?
Well, in a nutshell, we haven't yet experienced it. That doesn't mean it won't happen. I'll touch wood. Again, transparency is key. So at the end of last year, this is very, very honest and very upfront. We're quite a new company. We've just finished our second year. So as expected, we weren't, or certainly I wasn't, because I had the eyes on the financial side. I wasn't expecting our company to yet be thriving, and in honesty, it wasn't yet thriving. We were getting there, but we're still very much the startup phase of the first 2 to 3 years. And this was great feedback from one of the team, in fact, saying, if you really want us to engage even more, and this is great feedback, and therefore listening is key. She said, you need to give us the big picture, not the vision. They knew the vision. The vision was very clear, and I think that I am constantly talking of what the vision and the mission of the company is about, probably too much even. But I think it's important to constantly remind everybody and oneself why we're doing it. Keep the long term always in mind. But when she said to me, it'd be nice that, you know, we know where the company's going because we trust you that you're leading it in the right direction. But if we know where it's going, we know what we're actually bringing to the table. And what she meant basically was a little bit more of the metrics, a little bit more of the financial side. Yeah. So what I did an end of the year report to them. And this is something now that's been implemented and I will be doing every year. Rather than me expecting things from them, I'm giving them the expectancy of something from me instead. And that, to be honest, I think presidents should run their countries a little bit more like that, where they give us year-to-year reports, another topic for another day. Yeah. So I gave a financial report and a company report on presentations to everybody and showed them the pluses and showed them the minuses and what was good and what needs to be improved on. And we talked about it, we discussed them together, and then we gave ourselves time to brainstorm some new ideas, understanding what budgets we already had available and what budgets we would have to improve to make available other, marketing strategies and things like that. Yeah. But for me, what was key was about, and it happened half naturally and half because I was encouraged to do it as well. What was really key was about bringing the team into the whole debate, into the whole equation of understanding the business model and what was going on. And I think if you really believe in the people you work with and in those values and and you trust them, obviously, and trust is a massive, massive value. If you don't show your trust, how can you expect them to trust you and your judgment? You have to show the example. There's no doubt about it. You have to get out there and, and if it works, that was a good bet. And if it doesn't work, well, once again, in the morning, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, at least I tried. Yeah, I understand. And that worked really well. And what was even more surprising, which I didn't expect, was at the beginning of this year when, after that little week period around Christmas where we all go home and spend some time with family and friends, was a lot of them came back with even stronger commitment towards the company. They'd had time to think about stuff and they'd seen that everybody else was trying to commit more. So it wasn't about Simon and his ideas. It was about the team and our ideas. It's not about one person. It's about us working together as a team. And more people are attracted to that, whether it's other agents, because we went from 5 to 7 in only 2 months. So we've got a few more people now on board, but also with clients as well. And clients and previous successful clients who've recommended us as well, because they get that we do take time and we do invest in people.
Wonderful, Simon. I love it. I'm going to look what people respond to what you just said. Barbara is here.
Hi, Barbara.
She says, I love it. You're absolutely right about, CVs. How can anyone resume all that they have done on one piece of paper? Yeah, you're spot on, Barbara. Petar from the Netherlands. Hi, Petar. He's agreeing with you. He says, that's the spirit. Karen, that's the way to work. Your business has to sit on your own core values. Treating people like humans is just smart business. And it creates a business that you will want to spend your time in. Colm is responding, thanks heavens, no more CVs. Well, I'm so very, my CV is nearly a bestseller book. Well, we can shake hands on this one, Colm.
Yeah.
Karen is saying, again, if I had a CV for about 12 years, it's such a dated way to represent yourself. Bela is here. He says hi.
Hey, Bela.
So, Simon, first of all, I think it's a very inspiring story. You told me you started up Hub Nice and slowly came to running a real estate agency. Who would have thought that one?
Not me, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, could you give me an idea on how many time did it take you to come from your, let's say, higher values that inspired you to try to start up a hub, a social impact hub in Nice, towards the moment that you were actually running the real estate agency? How many years did pass? Or how many months?
So, okay, the hub project itself went on for about 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that was full-time dedication from myself and from the other people who were co-founding the project with me. So there was four of us to begin with, and then obviously that moved on, and the team grew, the team shrunk over time. Then I did what? The consulting project was about 6 months, and then I fell into real estate. Now I've been in for about 4 years, give or take.
Okay.
With regards to the values, that was the hardest part for me, without a doubt. And I'll explain. The hub was a massive, massive highlight in my young life. Seeing so many people bonding together and inspired by such a project that was basically there to help other people succeed in creating their own initiatives, their own ideas, their own companies in a sustainable and social entrepreneurial way. I was going to say tick so many boxes. No, it ticked all of my boxes and then some. It went far beyond any of my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a massive, massive disappointment, personal disappointment, that I could not fulfill what I had set out to fulfill for those who were expecting us to move on to that next stage of creating a physical space. Mm-hmm. And that was a very big and jagged pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah. And it took me a long time. And that's why even when we went towards this consulting, it was more of a, don't get me wrong, we didn't create the hub to then do consulting with our hub members or our community. That wasn't, we weren't trying to go into that we weren't trying to move into that direction. But I couldn't help but see a lot of people around us needing help today. But, you know, our message was, well, once the hub space exists, you'll have all the solutions.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating to see that they couldn't wait 6 months or 12 months. They needed answers now. And we came up with a process. We actually based it on the lean process, lean startup. We dive deep into the lean startup by Eric Ries. Here are some names and some books to read. Into the business model generation canvas by Alexander Osterwelder. Then the new improved version of the lean and the business model generation canvas, which is mixed together by Ash Moria into the lean canvas, who also wrote 2 books, Running Lean and Scaling Lean. And I can put all these books, by the way, in a link afterwards. It's not a problem. And combining all these tools of what were being used, we were able to create a process that actually helped you know, the local social entrepreneurs. And we did it for a short time. We did it and it was successful. It just wasn't sustainable for us because we couldn't invoice what we needed to survive, and yet we would never demand more than whatever the social entrepreneur in front of us could give. So and that's why we then moved it to real estate. And when I moved it to real estate, it was a big sucker punch to the gut. Mm-hmm. You know, I knew what real estate was all about. I knew the image that it had. In France, they call it the shark industry. You know, that everybody's just a shark. They're out there to get you. And then after a while, I just thought, well, you know, if we're talking about the shark, then we're talking about real estate as an ocean. Well, if there's sharks in the ocean, there can be dolphins too. And dolphins beat sharks. You know, they're smarter, but they're not aggressive.
Well, I actually think, sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned the word ocean. That always triggered something in me. I'm a big fan of what's called a blue ocean strategy.
Yeah, the blue ocean strategy,
in contradiction with the red one, where indeed all the sharks are and just competing with each other and basically copying each other in the best way they can. I think you're actually making a difference out there. So I think you are creating your own blue ocean. On top of that, when I hear you talking in this period of 4 or 5 years, it just popped into my head. I know you are a fan of him. I just had to think about your other Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek, absolutely, yeah.
And, he tries to teach people that you need to start with the why and just go on to, are we actually going to do it? But because when I listen to you, you still have the same why. the format in the format when it has changed, but the why is still there.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I suppose we've had so many conversations together.
There is, I think there is, yeah.
Sorry, the reception's gone a little bit. All I was saying was we've had so many conversations together, Wim, and so often do I mention Simon Sinek that I feel that I've already mentioned him in the conversation, but of course it goes without saying, Simon Sinek, the Golden Circle. And if you haven't yet seen his TED Talk, please watch his TED Talk. It makes so much sense, and it makes so much sense on a professional level, on a personal level, economical level, political. He takes so many different examples, and he's basically decoded the whole. A lot of people would start with what they're doing, and they may move on to how they do it, but they never focus on why they do it. And people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. People don't invest in what you do, they invest in why you do it. People are not attracted to you because what you do. They're attracted to you because why you do it. The big why is a massive question. It's a massive, massive question. And I actually saw some things being shared on Facebook early this morning. For me, why is ultimately important because it also helps you understand what your true reason is as well. Now, there is a method called the 5 whys. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but when I was lying on my bed with my shoulder in a sling, or rather my arm in a sling back in 2010 at my parents', and asking myself where I wanted to go with my life, I started asking my question, well, why? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? Why are you the way you are? That's how I started. Why am I so passionate about these things? And why am I so aggravated by the injustice in the world and racism and all this stupidity? Why does it get to me so deep? And I started to ask myself this question again and again. And every time I answered the question, I would ask myself, why did I say that? And I would dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And to the very core of it, I realized what all of this narrowed down to, I just want those people around me, family and close friends, to be happy and healthy. And then I dared to ask myself one last time, why is that important? And at that point, I realized that is what's going to make me happy. And that is selfish. But how can it not be when there's whatever's very at the core, whatever's extremely deep down, it has to be selfish because it has to come from yourself. And as long as once you've realized what that is, that's your fire, I believe. That's your spark. That's what gets you up in the morning. And at that point, because I dug down, I could dig back up. I could move back up those steps, those stages. And I realized, well, that's what I'm about. This is what's going to make me happy. And I was relating back to a conversation that was on Facebook early this morning between a few of the viewers that I won't name names, but talking about selfish and the care economy. And it's important. It's important to understand that, it's okay. It's okay that at the very core, these are your thoughts. These are your feelings. It's okay to be selfish in a way. Don't use the negative concept of what selfish is all about. So I was saying, don't lose all that's negative about the concept of selfish. Use it as a strength. Use the positive connotation. It means it starts from within and then move from there. And the last couple of sentences that I just mentioned was, we have this negative concept of what selfish is all about. And in fact, that's very much outside influence. But selfish, in itself, all it means is that we're starting from ourselves, starting from our core. And we've got to remind ourselves that it's not actually a negative thing, as long as we are open and transparent enough about who we are as people, and we're aligned to that inner core, I suppose, in a way. The selfishness side, as soon as it comes out, you can have the negative selfish aspects. Selfless sounds a lot more positive, and it's a synonym of generosity, but it also can be sometimes you don't care enough about yourself, you keep giving to others, but But at the end of the day, if you're not yourself sustainable, if you're not taking care of you, like we were saying earlier in the conversation, if you're not taking care enough of yourself, how can you sustain the care that you give towards others? So it's got to start from yourself somewhere. And I think we all have to be happy that very deep down, there is some selfishness in there. But as long as you know what it is, and as long as you're happy with that, then you know, that's where I was going with this.
Well, I actually I saw in our group that Bela made a remark this morning, completely on this topic. He told,
well, this is it. This is what I was relating to.
Yeah, the care economy starts. Well, I think that's an important. It all starts with you and nobody else. And one of the things that actually drive me in this one is that we can start finger pointing at everybody, at governments and institutions and banks and you name it.
Yeah,
it actually starts with you.
Yeah,
we can all make a little difference out there by putting in our own values in our own life.
Yeah,
and go from there.
Yeah.
So I think it's very inspiring. It actually is completely in line with the why of Simon Sinek. I have also learned from you this morning that you really need to stick to your values, because it can take you 4 or 5 years to actually find a how to actually get it up going in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
Probably tomorrow you will find another how. Somehow I suspect that your journey has not ended yet. You're just getting started out there, Simon. It also reminds me of a favorite philosopher of me called Jim Rohn. He sadly died, but he always inspired me. And he once said, in the past, I would have said, I will take a good care of you. And now I say, I will take good care of me, so I can take good care of you.
Well, there you go. That's exactly it.
Yeah. And that you can call that selfish, give it any word you prefer. I think it's a wonderful philosophy, and it also appeals to the role of your own personal responsibilities in that process, because you can't finger point to someone else anymore.
Yes, and responsibility is extremely important too. I mean, now if I relate back to the business that I'm working in right now as a final example, maybe, but responsibility. The more people we bring into the team, my role has grown in responsibility towards the team and towards the people I'm bringing on board. This team synergy, I've become. My principal role has become the protector of what we already have, and that the next person that joins this team, and willingly so, we're always open doors. Yeah. But is adding, well, obviously adding value and complementing the team, but is not here to destroy what we've created, but here is to bring it up to yet another level. That's all good, but yeah. So responsibility is key, but we all have responsibilities, and I think as long as you're true to your values, it's even like this conversation this morning. I mean, as you know, I was like, is there really any value in me talking to you this morning on a Facebook Live? Little old me, really? Yeah. And you felt there was just enough to make it worth some people's while. And okay, I played ball and I came along. But we are all extraordinary people. You, myself, but everybody tuned in today and everybody on this planet, we're all extraordinary people. And we've got great things going for us. Unfortunately, we are in a society that loves to negate and spread fear. But that's just one way of a society trying to defend itself from changing. But if we want to see the change, the change, if we want to be part of the change, then we have to change ourselves as well, or we have to stand up a little bit more and push those values that we truly believe in forward. And how do we start? We start with ourselves. I'm not the first person to say it. You're not the first person to say it. It's now a known fact, and it's important to get out there and do it. There you go.
It's very inspirational. I think it's inspirational to anybody who is listening it or will see the replay. We've almost been talking for 1 hour.
Wow.
So I'm going to end yeah, there you go.
Really that fast?
I'm going to end the live. I would like to thank you very much for your inspiration this morning.
Well,
I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Very flattered.
And we'll probably see more of you in this everyday community, and we'll probably run into each other again very soon.
I'm sure. Thank you very much, Wim, for welcoming me, and thank you for everybody tuning in as well. It's very kind of you.
Likewise. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.